evening, everybody. Tonight is December 10, 2024, and this is the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. Present is Ms. Kate Ratner, board member, Dr. Adam Lehman, assistant superintendent, our superintendent, Dr. Sherry Chanley, myself, the vice president and president of the board, Ms. Carmen Alvarez, and Ms. Katie Fabiano. We have Mr. Moralden here. We have one of our students with us tonight. We're excited. Everybody was asking where the students were. So we do have three. And this lovely gentleman is with us this evening. And we have about 5 or 6 members of the committee. We do have a lot of conflicting things because of the holiday time. Children not feeling well and just different things. But with this group, we're going to work really hard tonight. So you're going to work twice as hard because and fill in the spots, okay? All right, good evening. On the agenda tonight, Mr. Moralda is going to speak about communications flow and the district overview, methods and methodologies, and then we're going to have small group discussions, what we said the other day, regarding methods for improvement. So if you've got any in your mind that you wrote down or think about anything, please, even you, our handsome student, we need feedback from you too. Okay, so don't be afraid to let us know. Okay, Mr. Moralda, you're on.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. And if you're wondering why I'm all the way down here, it's because you told me you were going to kick me if I spoke more than 10 minutes. No problem.
I did not say kick you.
That's right. You're going to give me
Nudge. I said something else.
Yes.
But it was in a closed meeting with Dr. Lehman and Dr. Lehman, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, right, Dr. Lehman?
You said nudge.
Nudge. I said nudge?
Yes.
I just made it up.
I usually don't.
I might have mentioned, but
All
anyway,
right, go
I'll
ahead.
agree.
Just start talking because we don't have much time.
So, thank you, Ms. Payne, and thank you, Vivian, for being here with us. And like we said, we have a lot of things happening tonight, so we may have a couple more members of our committee trickle in as the night goes on. But I did, as promised, want to go over how we are currently distributing information, all different types of information throughout the district, recognizing that there are gaps. We discussed it in this committee specifically, for over a year now, for ways that we could not just communicate emergency information, actionable information, but just general happenings and creating awareness in the district. So I just have a 1-slide overview, and it's very broad, but I think it'll get to the essence of what we do here. And I'll put the handout in front of you. So there are three basic categories of information that as a district, and I'm not talking about as a building or at the grade level or as a teacher, but as a district that we distribute. Starting with, let's just start right in the middle with your emergency information. And on our distribution list, we use a service called Blackboard Connect to kick out information. Blackboard Connect not only allows us to put out emails, we can do the voice memos that you receive. There are other features out there that we don't necessarily take advantage of. There are text alerts. Some parents, there's only like about, believe it or not, less than 20 parents that opt into that service, text alert, but that is available to us. And we have different ways of managing who gets the information. So our district is currently set to default to the primary contact of each household. In the case of an emergency, which would be something like a weather closing or early dismissal or snow day, late opening. We had that weird Canadian wildfire a few years ago, like Mordor and Lord of the Rings, right? The things that need to get out to not just all of our parents, but our emergency information also goes out to municipal registrants into our system, inclusive of secondary and tertiary contacts. So as a parent, I believe in my household, my wife may be listed as the primary contact on the secondary. If it was an emergency, like a school closing, everyone in our district, secondary, even grandparent emergency contacts will get that alert. If it's something just, hey, welcome back to school, you know, the Dr. Chandler messages that we send out, that'll just go to the primary content. There are ways within Blackboard that if you want multiple recipients to receive the primary contact, we can set you up that way, through our individual.
Can I interrupt or interject? I should say not interrupt.
Of course.
One of the things that's very important, we'd like you to get the word out on this, because we know from the emergencies that we've experienced, it also has a lot of control by the parents. Parents do not realize that they do not click, and I'm using a very simple term, do not click on what it is that they want. They may only get this singleton person versus, and we had this issue, and I remember it was like, say, 18 people, I think it was at Woodland School, I'm just recalling some parents said, I wasn't notified, and we found out that they had something unclicked, which would not allow us the opportunity then to notify. So we always want our parents to be,
I actually told, I was going to bring up the same.
Thank you, you have to, yes.
You say Blackboard, but the settings would be in Genesis.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry, yeah, Blackboard is our backend.
Blackboard is all right.
So.
It's our
what it
messaging
was,
services.
Because I was actually one of those people who all of a sudden wasn't getting them. This happened
Correct.
last. I remember I reached out, like, I know Ms. Bora had
Yes.
the same thing at that time.
It's very important in
There's a separate
Genesis.
thing called email alerts under settings for parents. So like, I know like my daughter had got something about algebra, something about a board meeting that was sent to her through that for whatever reason, we hadn't clicked to opt in. So we were getting those notifications. And so you just had to like log into Genesis under email alerts, which was under settings, and just click.
Right, so what we'll do is, and I'm glad you're doing this, and I don't want to take up any more time, but I think it's important that we know that it is, we always talk about collaboration. It's not just what is the school district doing, and that's why we have you here, because you're our voice. It is, how do the parents know that they're also doing what they need to do on their part, because we don't have that control. And we realized when there was an error, I don't remember if it was a flood, it was something, I just can't recall.
Like a power outage, something at Woodland,
It was power outage, and people were getting, we couldn't understand how it went into the system. So you have to make sure that on your end, through Genesis and through Blackboard, the clicking, I don't know another term to use it, but.
One of the, you know, we're gonna, obviously, we would like to get some actionable outcomes here.
Sure.
One of the things,
Wait, did you have a question? Because I saw you had your answer it and
Yeah.
ask it now.
So we're talking about Genesis and Blackboard is the back end section,
Yes.
that's
That feeds it.
district,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Does Genesis have the text option to opt in? Or is it
Genesis,
just solely email?
so I'm looking under settings, under email alerts, because I pulled up my,
Sure.
and so like under my child, there's, email to, and it has like my students, my child's name, and then it has what we can opt into, and then both my husband and myself. That's for email alerts. Now, if I just go to settings, there's nothing there that's, but then there's also contacts, which is not under the settings. It's a separate menu item.
That's really good.
And that lists, where you can put cell phone and home numbers and emails. But I don't see anywhere to opt into text
Right.
messages on Genesis. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's.
So
something-
then, as a follow-up to that, I guess two follow-ups to that. Let's go back to emails.
Mhm.
Sorry. Thank you for telling Genesis. We use Power School.
Oh, Power School.
Yeah, but so for emails, are there specific categories, as to the emails, like what, like emergency versus breaks
Yeah.
versus?
So like, I obviously, I can't show
No,
it, but like,
so
you
it does.
just kind of see it says, letters, attendance / grade book, and then messages,
know.
and you can choose who's getting which email. So there's myself and my husband, and then my daughter, so like if we didn't want to, we didn't want her to see everything, which like, I don't mind, but,
Right.
then we would like unclick it, and then there's also, yeah, those were the three.
So then messages, is that the catch-all for emergency information?
Mr. Morrell?
yeah, so when I, if I'm going to distribute emergency communication, there's an extra toggle I will then need to activate, which will ensure that it gets pushed out to all published contacts in our Rolodex, including municipal dispatches and things like that, so we can alert their offices for transportation, things like
But district-wise, what you're feeding from Genesis is, the trigger is somebody who has messages checked off.
that.
Okay. Just a point of, if I was looking at that, I don't necessarily know what messages means. So I don't know if the toggle itself can be updated to say, emergency information or
Sure.
some helper text
And
there.
that's why we're having this conversation, because we want to be able
Well,
to.
and to that end, before this committee came to be, one of the things that we had discussed on the front end of offering parents and users would be a cheat sheet of, here's who can get this type of information when,
Sure.
here's what you have to do.
Right, because you don't know what you don't know until,
Exactly.
and we learned why there was 17 parents that insisted they didn't get it. I don't know if you were one of them, but I know you were one of them, didn't get it with the Woodland situation, and we went back and forth, go, what? We know, we remembered, I went through every single one, and we realized that there was something he wasn't checked, well, he doesn't call me, so I give him, he's the director of communication, so I give him my communication, and he sends it out, and we realized that there's a little toggle over that.
I remember the exact day.
You remember that? So I remember that, and of course, we called every parent, so we weren't worried about it, you know, the principal's in. But the point is that these things have to happen, we're so glad they're at a low level of emergency, we never want a high level of emergency, you know. But to find out what we don't know.
Exactly.
So it's another thing that maybe on, you know, maybe even before back to school night, when we send out our, you know, when all the elementaries and the middle school and high school send out their information, they could say, as a general reminder, here is what you should be checking off, and here's what you should be viewing, and here's what you should be looking at. And we are getting better and better at doing those things because knowledge is power. So the more knowledge we give, a lot of parents go, oh, I didn't even know I had to check that.
Right.
Like they're arguing, let's say even someone who's a friend of mine, they're arguing with me. I wrote it down and then we go into the system and go, oh, you never checked it.
Actually,
Well, it would be a cheat sheet at the beginning of the year.
I thought everybody
Who said cheat sheet? I said
He did.
Somebody said
right,
cheat.
where they have to do
That
it
needs
in
to be
order to
given.
get into Genesis, kind of like the other things.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the other things that pop up now, we talked about that.
And maybe you always automatically initially have it checked on.
Like a
And then
default
they-
there.
I didn't like that, that's excellent, because if we have it checked off automatically, they have to uncheck it.
Exactly, you have to physically.
Can
reverse-
we do that?
Right, like if they didn't want like a middle school yearbook order or something like
Yeah.
that. Right.
I kind of
Like,
like
you
that.
could just unsubscribe, you just need a little disclaimer on the bottom.
I kind of be realized.
That you can unsubscribe.
The only question I have for that is just like because I know there's privacy laws, especially with text messages, where like certain things you have to opt into texting, or like someone could file a
What-
complaint.
So for the sake of, moving along, what I would then do no, only because I'm trying to be mindful of personnel.
Right.
What I will ask, Mr. Feldman,
Mm-hmm.
is,
Director.
what are, our director of.
He's communications,
And I'm not gonna invoke you two because I put you on the spot, but I'll find out what our default settings are, and maybe I'll just defer to the judgment, what can we do on the front end to maybe streamline access, and then I like the idea of an opt-out rather than an opt-in.
Yes.
The other thing I noticed that I will say this, and I believe it's been checked, but we have had issues with AOL email suffixes in the past.
Sure.
Which I know was an issue a couple of years ago, but I do believe that had been, I don't know, long ago, yeah. Like there was an issue, we had like whitelist people with AOL, but that was like an older issue, but I don't believe that's an issue anymore, but that was an issue at some.
No, I think as of last year, that was 2 years ago on your
Mhm.
situation, right? 2 or 3 years ago, I
I think
think.
that was last year.
Was that last year?
It was in
Remember.
spring, yeah.
And all that being said, we are fairly certain that we're gonna be moving on to,
Message XR.
Message XR sometime by the beginning of next school year, which is a more updated version of Blackboard. My guess is that a lot of the user interfaces will be,
Some of the issues perhaps we're discussing will be null and voice.
So the Messages XR is a part of the website we just launched.
Mhm.
So it's the same company, it's, Blackboard is phasing out, Messages XR is what it's turning into, and, they paused all of their transitions until the summer because they're updating Messages XR. So instead of having us come on the new system, but then have to update again this summer, they're just delaying that whole transition until the summer. So we'll have a new messaging system
Mhm.
that will provide a broader range of capability in terms of what the messages look like, because I know sometimes they're pretty plain when they come out. Sometimes there's a link or it says click on the attachment.
I mean, you can't.
That's because we can't do any more than what's there, so the
Very
new
limiting.
system will be able to be much more modern, user-friendly, and has evolved. I think it's a good summary.
That's a perfect summary, and the critical feedback that we've always offered is that our parents struggle with managing your profile through Genesis to affect Blackboard Connect.
Sure.
And I
He was
speak
looking
with
at it.
Mr.
Looking at
Taggart.
that. I see Diane. I was.
Yeah, Mr. Tags at the middle
You have to
school,
get- you have to
there
get
are,
for
there are
tonight.
many instances where
Not
he's
his
dealing
fault.
with, he's troubleshooting parents through their Blackboard specifically, and that, he shouldn't be spending the day doing that, but we have to do a better job on the front end. of-
Mr. Morale, Jennifer has a question.
Is it something that we should like discuss later for methods of improvement?
Yes.
Okay, I won't say anything.
Got it.
Okay, I'll wait for your turn. Okay, great.
So just to close out emergency information, whenever Dr. Chanley directs an emergency or to be distributed, we will put out all of our contacts on Blackboard. usually will be included with a voice memo from, either, Dr. Chandler or Dr. Lehman. We will also update social media. Usually it's just a copy and paste of whatever memo is distributed, and also we'll put a pop-up on the website. So that would be like emergency situation, we need everyone to figure it out, we need everyone to get to it, so no one shows up.
When in doubt, you could always go to the website. So, oh my gosh, I didn't hear anything, I don't know what's going on. You go to the website, it doesn't allow you to go anywhere else, it just pops it up in your face when you open up.
Additionally, and this is something Dr. Chanley, initiated last year, I believe, when the district issues a district-wide emergency communication, all building principals will also send their own version
That's
of
the big
it
thing I want.
locally. And that is our check and balance to make sure that nobody didn't get thrown into a junk email folder if it's coming from me versus if you're probably gonna get your principal.
And I initiated also because it makes so much sense. Every building has their own way of doing things. Perhaps they have preschool handicap, perhaps they do not. Perhaps they have the full day kindergarten, it's an upper elementary, they don't have kindergarten. So by me saying to my principals, this is what went out, now do your thing, it's individualized to your child. So that's something I started last year and it's been working beautifully.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the emergency thing. We check off every box, we hit every channel. Again, we're not, unless you're pre-registered in our system or just happen to stumble upon our social media feeds or website, you're not gonna get the message unless you go there or unless you register for our list. And that's another thing that we had spoken about heading into next school year, to do a bigger blitz to get people to register for our distribution list and leveraging the municipal government to help us with that. For general MTSC information, that could be anything from, hey, we have to play next week, to Dr. Chanley wants to acknowledge a holiday or a federal
I
holiday.
try to remember them all.
Yeah, and this would be something on the district level. Generally, that goes off to our primary email box that I'll check off. So your spouses or your emergency contacts may not get that message. I know the municipal government doesn't want that message.
They reminded us when we made that
They remind me
mistake.
every time I accidentally check off that box. Because again, but they don't want their employees hearing, hey, you have a 2-hour delay. Because then hey, wait, we have a 2-hour delay? No, it's just the schools. So there's been times where I've erroneously checked off municipal employees.
They send me an email
And
immediately.
they get very upset with me, and I admit my mistake. But,
Do they know who you are?
no,
No, they send it to me.
I say my
Okay,
name is,
just in case
Gail
I
Flynn.
would disguise my name.
No, they just send it to me and I send it to him.
So, but general information generally would be district events, special occasions, high schools in the state championship, that kind of stuff. If it's building-based, those messages will come from your principals. And I believe most of them, if not all of them, will send out Friday updates and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just your general operations, district existentialism, anything happening in the big picture. Those were our two channels of flow. When it comes to teaching, learning, and student celebrations, our accomplishments, our highlights, things like that, we stay off of email for that, unless it's your Falcon Talons monthly newsletter. The monthly newsletter, the Falcon Talons, we call it, is really just a recap of the month. It's like a memorial of what occurred. I know it does feel like a little out of date, a little like yesterday news sometimes, but it is a nice time capsule for the district and the individual schools. We archive all of those, and it's a nice historical record because social media is always there. We post so often, sometimes the info can get lost. So we do feel like it's important to have an archived monthly record of what's happening.
Can I also tell them too, and at our board meetings, we have 2 students that are here and they report on everything that happened that past month. So if you listen to the board meetings, the girls are phenomenal with all the information they get from every single school. So if you miss something and maybe you don't want to go on the website, just listen to the board meeting and you'll hear what they tell. And I mean, they really wonderful.
They're very comprehensive.
They're
They
ve- I mean,
cover
they're
everything.
right to the T. So you'll find out everything that's going on in this district by these 2 young women, so.
And then, that's correct. So our social media is kind of our real-time news. We try to be balanced on what we highlight, like if you know the last couple of weeks, it's been very athletics heavy because we've done playoffs, stuff like that.
We're so successful.
No, all good stuff. Obviously, next couple of weeks, it'll be very music, performing arts heavy because all of our concerts.
And our
We
employees
try
of the year is
to,
gonna be the next couple of weeks too.
We try to keep all of our social media stuff focused on students and learning. And it's nothing against our teachers. But again, we made a conscious decision to go in that direction coming out of COVID. We want students to be celebrated and things like that. That is the district's position. Now, the schools handle their own celebrations and communications through their newsletters and their monthly updates. And, if you haven't noticed, this year, we are breaking out of our district social media feed and creating sub-accounts. The first one we opened was MTHS Athletics, or Sports Marketing, I'm sorry. And the idea is that if we want our athletic parents to have a place to go to get real-time updates multiple times a day, separate from the district feed. And the idea would be our district feed, 2 or 3 posts a day, big picture, highlights, information, try to be balanced, try to be equitable. But because we know that, listen, we could put 12 to 16 posts about sports a day. Not that it's less interesting, but the cloud social media. So if Dr. Chanley needs to send out something important, or if there's something else happening in 3rd grade, and we really do follow the lead of state guidance and higher ed about how they manage so much diverse information, so much nuanced happenings and critical information, none of which is more or less important than the other. So it's in a large district and a diverse district, it's challenging, but we try to get better every year. So that is what's currently in place. That being said, before we break out into groups, and then maybe we do like general questions and we break into groups so we can have more productive dialogue. We fully acknowledge that there are gaps. We know, and I'm disappointed, I know it's tough that there are some of our members aren't here. We are not accessing all of our our active adult communities. We know that there are portions of the Mill Lake Woodland side of town, particularly in the Mill Lake Manor, of households that don't have kids currently enrolled in the school district that are not getting our messaging, and that's just from direct conversations I've had with people that live there. So it's not just limited to the active adult communities. There are pockets of town that are not getting our information. So that's what brings us here today. Not only are we curious about information accessibility, but also the style in which the information is delivered. Is it too media heavy? Is it too wordy? Is it, are we ignoring the students by focusing too much on trying to get to the active adult communities, or are we, forgetting ourselves? These are the things that happen when you're trying to reach broad audiences and full disclosure.
And the new website being mobile friendly.
Our focus over the last couple of years have been taken elsewhere by student sector, whether it be facility driven or financial driven. So, this is a time where we, again, check ourselves and say, hey, we are a student first organization, and that's where our communication should start then. So that's what's in place. We know we have rooms to improve, and now we look forward to kicking into the committee to see how we can do that.
Okay.
So,
Now, before you break into Jennifer's question, will be,
President doing the six regarding the methods for improvement, so.
you're so quiet.
Oh, sorry, I'll address my suggestions during the small groups.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
And
I
if
just
you
want to make sure that you get an answer.
He has copies, right?
The letters for everybody?
the lace letter.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe go into small groups as you both.
We can
Yes,
just,
that's what I'll do. So when we assemble the small groups, I'll also distribute the
Oh,
list.
that would be great.
all right, good.
Just really quick, the other thing I want to bring up, because it's relatively new, but it's sort of a communication, is the new calendar feature
Mhm.
on the website, because it allows anyone to subscribe to the events and then they get the updates that they need. I know it's still a work in progress, but one thing I did notice for now, and I don't know if this is going to change, one of our teachers would be great there. Is for each school, I think right now you have to go onto their website to subscribe, like if you are,
If you download their intro.
like if you're on the district homepage, I think you only get like schools closed, like certain things like that, whereas if you want like high school events, you have to go onto the high school site. So I don't know if that's something that they can be integrated, if there's a way to fix that. But
Yeah, I'll check in with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to break up the
How
groups.
do you want to break up the
You
group?
just where we're sitting? Move down, we can move down there.
It's a small group, it's a.
Let's see. Well, we had less people than I'd originally.
Right.
Right, yes.
So,
Five,
Right,
7,
yeah.
9, 11, 12, we have 12 people.
This is this group get together.
Yeah, that's good if you want to get any smaller than what it is.
No.
all right, so maybe we just tighten up and then
And then are we gonna, we're gonna be off?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so then we're,
Yeah, so I'll go get the copies of the leaf letter.
Okay, so
Let's
then-
tighten up that group so we can speak more productively and
and
then.
then I'm gonna close the meeting for this evening. We're going into small group discussion, and, thank you very much.
I think that's the student.